Hello and welcome to Biz First Review 360, where we bring you a roundup of this week's top business stories and developments that impact the economy. I'm Stephanie Lazarus. Top economist and professor of the Lee Kuan Yew University, Dr. Razin Saleh, speaking at a forum organized by the Advocata Institute here in Colombo, said that the expected economic boom has not taken off even after 2 years of the government coming into power.
Addressing the gathering, Professor Razin Saleh said that there has been no serious reforms to help boost economic growth.
What I think has really gone wrong is the economy, and that's crucial because without getting that right or better, everything else really does fall apart. It begins with really very bad macroeconomic policy, fiscal policy and monetary policy in the first instance. Now this is of course not new. It has been the case almost since independence, with government spending far too much and with creating far too much money. So there's been too much public debt created, inflation, current account deficits, and a weaker currency. This government, until recently at least, made it worse, starting with fiscal policy. So we had two very bad budgets last year. Price controls, exchange controls, chopping and changing with all sorts of ad hoc taxes. In other words, a continuation of what was happening before. And all of that led to the government going with a begging bowl yet again to the International Monetary Fund, and a new agreement with the fund, a new facility was negotiated. Now, in the short term, that seems to have delivered somewhat better news. The situation has stabilized a little. The last budget, at least to date, was not as disastrous as the previous two budgets. If things go according to plan, and that of course is a big if with implementation in Sri Lanka, then Sri Lanka might get closer to having revenue closer to 15% of GDP as opposed to 10-11% of GDP. It's good news, but it's limited because the budget is still not about serious tax reform. It's about doing the minimum to satisfy IMF requirements and preventing a full-blown crisis.
He said although there is an improvement in democracy, the country is drifting towards times experienced before January 2015.
The first one, scenario one, is of drift, which is a continuation of the present. The second one is what I call takeoff. That's the scenario that all of us, I hope, in this room want to see, and what, of course, our politicians have promised us. The third scenario is relapse, sliding back to where we were before January the 8th, 2015. We are in scenario one. We are very, very far away from scenario two, takeoff. But we are closer, dangerously closer to scenario three, in other words, relapse. And scenario one, drift, is an inherently unstable situation. So relapse is lurking around the corner, and we really have to advance to scenario two, takeoff, because the alternative is relapse. In other words, the stakes are very high.
Minister Malik Samarvikrama defends picking China Merchant Ports Holding Limited to operate the Hambantota port.
The agreement with China Merchant Port Holdings Company Limited is scheduled to be signed early next month.
So the GDP growth in the world is going to be about 2.5% next year, and that too mainly from the Asian countries. But the growth in trade, international trade, global trade, is only going to be 0.8%. ඉතින් එතකොට අපිට දැන්ටම තේරෙනවා shipping industry එක තව තවත් පහළට වැටෙනවායි කියලා. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා අපිට තීරණයක් ගන්න වුණා කොහොමද මේ හම්බන්තොට වරායේ අපි මේ තියෙන ණය ප්‍රමාණය වෙනුවට අපිට කොහොමද වෙන විකල්පය මොකක්ද කියලා. දැන් මම දැක්ක ළඟදී අපේ අර්ජුන රණතුංග ඇමතුමත් කියලා තියෙනවා කොළඹ වරායෙන් එන ලාභ 60%ක් වේදම් කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා හම්බන්තොට වරායෙන් නඩත්තු කරන්න. 60%ක් ලාභ. ඉතින් ඒක ලොකු අපරාධයක්. චයිනා හාබ සමාගම ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ප්‍රොපෝසල් එක ඉදිරිපත් කෙරුවා 65% ගන්න ඒගොල්ලන් කැමතියි කියලා සමාගමක් හදලා අපි මුලින්ම කිව්වේ මේක පාලනය කරන්නත් මේක නඩත්තු කරන්නත් මේ ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන්නත් අපි ජොයින්ට් වෙන්චර් එකක් හැටියට සමාගමක් හදන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඒ අපේ ආණ්ඩුවේ SLB එකයි ඒ කම්පැනියක් සමග. ඉතින් චයිනා හාබ කම්පැනි එක 65% කොටස් ගන්න කැමති වුණා ඩොලර් මිලියන 750කට. එතකොට ඒ පෝට් එකේ වටිනාකම එන්නේ ඩොලර් බිලියන 1.1. අනිත් සමාගම චයිනා මර්චන්ට් සමාගම ගේ ප්‍රොපෝසල් එකේ තිබ්බේ ඒගොල්ලන් 80%ක් ගන්න කැමති ඩොලර් බිලියන 1.12කට. එතකොට මේ පෝට් එකේ වටිනාකම එන්නේ 1 බිලියන 1.4යි.
Minister Samara Wickrama said more investments need to be made to improve the operational capacity of the Hambantota port. China also has plans to build a liquid natural gas-fired power plant, an oil refinery and a dockyard.
දැන් මේ වරාය මේ ඒ ආයෝජනයට අමතරව 1.1 අමතරව ඒ වරාය සංවර්ධනය කරන තවත් ඩොලර් මිලියන 500ක් 600ක් විතර අවශ්‍යයි. මොකද ඒ තියෙන උපකරණ ගන්න ගෑන්ටි ක්‍රේන්ස් වාගේ උපකරණ ගන්නත් තව ඩොලර් මිලියන 600ක් පමණ ආයෝජනය කරන්න අවශ්‍යයි. දැන් මේ චයිනා මර්චන්ට් කම්පැනි එක ඒකත් කරන්න දැන්ටමත් එකක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේම ඊට අමතරව දැන් වරායේ තියෙන ප්‍රමාණය අක්කර 1200ක් විතර තියෙනවා. right about 1200 acres. ඒ තුලත් දැන් අපි සාකච්ඡා කරගෙන යනවා සිමෙන්ති කර්මාන්තයක්, සිමෙන්ති ප්ලාන්ට් එකක්, සිමෙන්ට් ප්ලාන්ට් එකක්. ඒ වගේම LNG ප්ලාන්ට් එකක්. ඒ වගේම ඔයිල් රිෆයිනරි එකක්. තවත් නැව් රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ඩොක්යාඩ් එකක් ඒ තුලම ඇති කරන්න දැන් සාකච්ඡා කරගෙන යනවා. ඒක නතුවත් දුරට එකම වෙලා තියෙනවා. මම හිතන්නේ විගාට මේවත් අපිට ඒ ගිවිසුමත් අත්සන් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා. අවසන් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා. ඉතින් ඒවයි ආයෝජනය බලනකොට තව ඩොලර් බිලියන 4ක් විතර ඒ ආයෝජන තුලින් ඊළඟ අවුරුදු 2-3 අපිට ගෙන්න ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඔව් දැනටමත් අපි ඉඩම් හොයනවා. ඉඩම් හොයාගෙන යනවා කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. දැන් මම හිතන්නේ හම්බන්තොට අපිට අක්කර 5000ක් විතර හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් මේ මහවැලි ඉඩම් තියෙනවා, මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ඉඩම් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අපිත් බලන්නේ මොනරාගල් පැත්තේ තියෙනවද අම්බිලිපිටියේ. මේක දවසෙන් දෙකෙන් වෙන එකක් නෙමෙයිනේ. අපි ඉස්සලා අදීරේ 5000ක් විතර අපිට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට කර්මාන්ත ශාලා 500ක් 600ක් විතර ඇති කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි. ඉතින් අපිට
ඔය විදිහට ඔබතුමාලා අක්කර 15000 විදිහට දෙන්න ගත්තොත් වන විනාශ වෙලා දැන්
නෑ ඒව ඔක්කොම බලලා තමයි දෙන්නේ. මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ඉඩම් වන විනාශ කිසිදක් වෙන්නේ නෑ.
The Colombo Stock Exchange said it will cancel the 1.3 billion rupee deal involving the trading of 13.2 million shares of Ceylon Bank.
The Colombo Stock Exchange said it will cancel the 1.3 billion rupee deal involving the trading of 13.2 million shares of Ceylon Bank by state-owned Bank of Ceylon following a request by the stockbroker who executed the transaction. In a statement, Rajiva Bandaranayake, the Chief Executive Officer of the Colombo Stock Exchange, said the CSE has received a request from the stockbroker to cancel the transaction. According to the stock exchange, such cancellations are permitted under the automated trading rules of the CSE, provided both parties to the transaction mutually agree to cancel the transaction with the approval of the CSE. The Monetary Board of the Central Bank brought Ceylon Bank, a private bank that was bailed out, under the control of state-owned Bank of Ceylon in December 2008. Bank of Ceylon is one of the 20 largest ordinary voting shareholders of Ceylon Bank.
Finance Minister Ravi Karnanayake is hopeful to see a stable rupee in 2017.
Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake, speaking to Reuters news agency, has said that the Sri Lankan rupee, which is under pressure, will recover and be steady in 2017 with foreign inflows. The rupee, which fell 3% this year after a nearly 10% loss in 2015, is under pressure because of higher imports and foreign outflows from government securities. The strengthening of the US currency globally after the Federal Reserve's rate increased last week and a lack of export-to-dollar conversions have hurt the rupee. Minister Karunanayake had also told Reuters that a steady rupee could come at the cost of higher interest rates, which is expected to keep borrowing costs in check.
Coming up next, a chat with the chairman of the Condominium Developers Association of Sri Lanka. Welcome back. You are watching BizFirst Review 360. Is there an oversupply of luxury apartments in Colombo? And how will Budget 2017 address industry concerns? Let's find out.
We're joined this evening by the President of the Condominium Developers Association of Sri Lanka, Mr. Pravir Samarasinghe. Condominiums, this is a very interesting topic in Sri Lanka at the moment. You look at a newspaper, you'll see at least 10 adverts for luxury properties, upscale properties. Mr. Samarasinghe, thank you very much for speaking to BizFirst Review 360. Let me start off by asking you straight off the bat, is there an excess of supply? We see the number of projects that are in the pipeline, we see the number of upmarket developments that are currently happening. Is there an excessive supply?
I won't say there's an excess at the moment. Currently, I believe there are about 7,000 luxury condominiums, more in the premium sector. These are priced at, we say, rupees 25 million rupees upwards, under construction, and most of them are being pre-sold as well. Though statistics and data is not there completely, we believe about 500 to 600 is the demand per year. So under these circumstances, over the next 5 to 6 years, this supply could be absorbed. So I won't say there is excess supply at the moment, but the danger is if there is continuously a pipeline of new products coming in to the same segment, then there could be a situation where the demand is not adequate.
Are you worried at all that there's a price bubble in the luxury property market right now? Do you think that it's sort of an inflating bubble that's becoming, do you worry that it might pop?
At the moment, no, because that is also, you must look at it in the context of the land values, because apartment values are dependent on the land as well as the construction costs. Currently, land prices, as you may know, has been going up quite a lot in the central business district and some of the peripheral areas as well. I don't think at the moment there is a bubble in the pricing. Different developments will have their different positioning and different qualities and may demand and request different prices. But the danger may be there, as I mentioned earlier, in the event there is an oversupply situation and a stagnation of sales, then you will find some developers undercutting and pricing much below the current levels. And in those situations, you might find the prices could come down.
Mr. Samarasinghe, shortly after this government came into power, not right after the presidential election, I remember I was at a business chamber, it was the American Chamber of Commerce meeting, with it was a breakfast meeting with the new Prime Minister, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. And he was asked a question about the government's policy towards the construction industry. And he was saying at the time, this was of course just in February of 2015, I believe, he was saying that there's going to be an excess of supply. Is that why this government has now made it easier for foreign buyers to purchase luxury apartments in Sri Lanka?
I won't say, again, I know under what context he mentioned that at that time, but it's important, I know as an association we also have been making representations on this aspect. It's important for us to also attract a different segment of the market, which is not properly approachable at the moment, or there is not enough incentive for them to come and invest in Sri Lanka. Now, if you take a lot of developing countries, whether it's even in Malaysia or Thailand or even the Middle East, Dubai, etc., you find a lot of capital coming from overseas to purchase condominium properties. So that's a segment Sri Lanka has not been very great in attracting purely foreigners in buying our real estate. At the same time, even the Sri Lankan diaspora, who have now gone overseas and who are enjoying foreign citizenship, they are also considered foreigners. And there were certain inhibitions for them to purchase land or even purchase condominiums in Sri Lanka. So it was useful to open that out and reduce the restrictions for that segment of the market. So thereby you can find a new segment approaching and purchasing our property. So a few changes were done more recently, to facilitate that.
Well, the budget, the Condominium Developers Association, you welcome the budget proposals on...
in principle, definitely yes. We welcome, and it was very useful because some of our concerns were addressed, or most of our concerns, I must say, was addressed, and certain solutions were found. And that is positive to the condominium sector, the property sector as well, and even the real estate development, if you take in total, because even foreigners were now able to purchase other than condominiums, especially listed foreign control entities were also opened out to be able to purchase real estate, which will help in the government's development plans. And as you know, there is also a lot of emphasis on infrastructure development and the megapolis development.
We're talking about the megapolis development. Yeah. Now, the megapolis development is as the Prime Minister himself has said, going to be the flagship development project of this government. It's going to be like the Mahaweli project was for the government of the 70s. How does luxury condominiums fit into the whole idea of the Western Province megapolis?
In principle, how we see it is, with the land prices going up, increasingly it will be unaffordable for Sri Lankans to purchase standalone villas or houses or detached residential properties in Colombo. And with the development taking place in Colombo and more people coming into Colombo or coming into Colombo for jobs and the greater Colombo area increasing, expanding, vertical living is obviously one of the most critical requirements for housing, and that has happened in all developing countries, all developing cities elsewhere. So with that, obviously, there will be a requirement for more and more condominiums, and it will fit in ideally to the megapolis development plans as well, which has different infrastructure development involved, like roads are there, transportation systems are there. So with that, it's extremely important in the planned manner to be able to develop condominiums, and it's an integral part of the development process.
Mr. Sarasinghe, like we mentioned earlier, we're seeing so many new projects coming up in terms of luxury condominiums as well. You mentioned the importance of vertical living in a growing city, of promoting vertical living in a growing city, and you tend to agree with that. But do you feel that in Colombo, the city infrastructure, specifically in relation to waste management, transportation, do you think that the city infrastructure development is keeping pace with the development of the condominiums?
Definitely it has not kept pace. As you mentioned, water supply, sewerage supply, power supply perhaps it has kept pace. Transportation is a huge concern for the future development of the Western Province or even the Central Business District as the Secondary Business District as well. So that's why the plans that are there drawn up for the megapolis is very well welcomed by us. So what we require is the expeditious implementation of that. And I believe there may be certain constraints in it. Capital is one. So that's why even the changes in the land law will help attracting of FDI to develop the infrastructure for that purpose. And even the embracing of the PPPs public-private partnerships in the area of infrastructure development, I think is very critical.
Mr. Samarasinghe, thank you very much for speaking to BizFirst Review 360. It's been a pleasure. It's been enlightening and insightful as well. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thanks. My pleasure.
And coming up next, the future of Ceylon tea. Welcome back. You are watching BizFirst Review 360. Well, last week we featured the plight of tea pluckers, one of the most vulnerable groups of society. This week, we take a look at the future of Ceylon tea.
A perfect storm of challenges threatens Sri Lanka's second biggest export earner. With Ceylon tea about to celebrate its 150th year, can the industry secure its future? In this episode, we explore what hope there is for Ceylon tea, because if action is not taken, it could disappear like the coffee industry before it. 75% of Sri Lanka's tea growing regions are at risk from climate change, but if planters adopt recommendations and plant newly developed seeds, there is hope tea planters can continue their long history of adapting to a diverse climate.
We have been working on this climate change and how to mitigate the climate change. One of the ways doing that is, the development of new varieties resistant to, the drought and high temperatures, which we have been successful, and we are hoping to release that new set of cultivars in 2017.
But even if tea plants thrive in new conditions, Ceylon tea will still struggle to be competitive. Demand for tea bags is increasing, yet only 10% of Ceylon tea production targets this market. The Minister of Plantations insisted that the industry should continue to focus on premium orthodox tea.
We can't be destroying what we have to go into a new form of manufacture. So I feel the best form is to retain what we have now, protect it, and then to build on that.
However, the Minister was not against change.
I feel Sri Lanka has to be more innovative in their product.
While it is unlikely that Sri Lanka will beat India and Kenya on costs of production, are there other opportunities for growth? The Minister responded to a hotly debated topic among exporters, whether to import cheaper tea to blend with Ceylon tea.
Have some blending here, but also to protect our traditional industry is also very important. We see a trend towards organic tea and also flavored tea and herbal teas also. So we will make policy decisions accordingly on how to expand on those markets. So we are looking at new markets, particularly Iran, the US and China.
High wages and low output are often cited as the main threats to the industry's sustainability. The Minister described the recent wage agreement with a partial link to productivity as a breakthrough, and like many others that the model needed to be built on.
We have a very regimented system, so all that is not necessary. We want to make them workers, sort of a social business entrepreneur, instead of being a hired worker who is supervised, who is monitors, who is checked. So worker will pluck the field assigned to him or her, then we will take over the leaf and they will convert into black tea, like what is done in the smallholder sector so successfully.
But will attempts to emulate the smallholder sector be successful without government subsidies to incentivise? When questioned on whether it is unfair that smallholders receive subsidies, the Minister said he wanted to reintroduce planter fertiliser subsidy. It looks as though the government may also want to rectify damage caused by the weedicide ban.
We can't allow the industry to be affected by policy decisions that are not properly studied. So I have told the relevant leaders that this glyphosate ban has to be given, the tea industry has to be given exemption for it.
Away from the fields, older machinery and some of the tea factories may be fit for purpose, but often the worker housing isn't. However, the Minister has announced plans that could transform the living conditions of many.
40,000 houses will be built through the Indian assistance of the Indian government. And that's going to be a real social change.
Other small but welcome innovations are taking place, as awareness of worker well-being and a need to retain the industry's workforce grows. Like this tea leaf basket, which helps protect tea pluckers' necks. Surely, there is other technology to improve the tea production process. Tea is still the most popular beverage after water. But if new generations are to enjoy Ceylon tea, the industry cannot afford to stand still. It must innovate and respond to changing consumer patterns. It must invest in new technology and continue to improve the lives of workers. The industry must come together and find a way to make it work for everyone. The plantation owners, the smallholders, the consumers, and the workers.
That's all the news we've got for you tonight. Remember, you can look us up on Facebook by typing BizFirst Review 360. Before we leave you tonight, we'd like to wish all our viewers a happy Christmas and a wonderful weekend ahead. We leave you tonight with this footage of the Sirasa MTV MBC Christmas Zone in Colombo. Good night.
Snow is falling all around.